Roy Nash is the author of Buyer's Remorse from Cherry Grove Press. Roy's poems have appeared widely in journals such as Agni, Atlanta Review, Barrow Street, the Evansville Review, Passages North, Poetry East, Rhino, and River Styx. His poetry serves as a nail in the tire of postmodernity, a pea shooter smuggled into the church of poetry. Be prepared to duck. Please welcome Roy Nash.
Thanks, Andy. I want to really thank you for having me here, and I'm really happy to be appearing with my friend Doreen Stock, who's a wonderful poet. I'm going to kick off my reading with I want to dedicate it to my various Spanish tutors around the world. So I'm going to kick it off with some lines by the Venezuelan poet Eugenio Montejo, along with a translation. The lines are: La tierra giró para acercarnos, giró sobre sí misma y en nosotros, hasta juntarnos por fin en este sueño. The earth turned in such a way as to draw us near to one another, turned on itself and in us, until it brought us together at last in this dream. And now what I want to do is take advantage of the Zoom framework to share the poems I'm going to be reading in their written form, augmented with images. So I guess you'll see my face off to the side, but mostly you'll be seeing the written poems. So I'll begin here small with some haiku-like poems. The first one is, everybody can see the screen, by the way? You're all good? Okay. I was getting ready to tie my tie when this kiss comes in time, stumbling on me as I am, standing in one sock. And we now have shock. The first time someone called me sir, I looked around. No one was there. So on the next poem, if I can get to it, page down, I like poems that deal with items in the world that are little remarked on. This poem belongs to that category. The title is Revolving Sunglass Display. There is in each of us a silo of desire that circles on itself and lurches with each turn. It sports a dozen styles of debonair, of dash and breeze, and if it could, would make Marcello Mastroiannis of us all. But here in this local corner store, it's a funny, studded, rickety beast, blind for all its eyes and miles from any beach. Thank you, thank you. Going to move to a poem of childhood, but not just of childhood, but of attitude. So personally, my childhood is gone, but something of the attitude may still remain. The poem is Cannonball. My specialty as a child, by the way. It was a great pow of a dive, made for boys who specialized in feats of little skill and spectacular effect. Impudent competition for the God-shaped swan, all breast and feather and grace. The jackknife that released itself to slit the water like a lover's hand slipping into an open robe. What was elegance but a thing to be expunged, undone by the effrontery of a nice fat splurge? The gaudy broadside of an eclair shrapneling the cheeks of chubby summer. Goodbye, cruel world. The wrecking ball of the body cymbal crashed into the smug surface. Depth charge churning in a blue fury of bubbles. Cool nucleus of boy sizzling in the silent below. Was ever anything more splendiferous than the sheer stupid pleasure of making a mess, to geyser up like truth, star-shot across a world smithereen with watery rubble and the shrieks of poolside girls dismayed by the brash, flamboyant, uncontainable kaboom of you. So that was the poem of childhood. The next poem, like Revolving Sunglass Display, takes note of, a familiar but sometimes overlooked item in poetry. In this case, the item is wasabi. Wasabi. Eat this green dab if you would like to feel the skin on the top of your skull scorched away, the infantry of your hair leaping and screaming, while the emperor's horses, freed from their burning stables, flee across the swift rivers of your eyes. Bow low if you would have your brain braised and black with buzzing. Return to the palace of the three snow plums to awaken at the feet of the princess who sings only of the delights of suffering. So, speaking of suffering, that's maybe not quite a delight. This is a poem that I wrote a number of years ago, but that has come back to find a renewed relevance for me since in the last 6 weeks or so, I've really been struggling with a back sprain, and it's really put my mind back on the poem Backache. My friend Richard Leiter recently asked me, what's the most important part of the body? And his answer, the part that hurts. So there are references made in the poem, a kind of a leitmotif to this wonderful hymn to existentialism, that song Dancing in the Dark, performed by Fred Astaire, and lyrics by the wonderful Howard Dietz. So I'll do the relevant lines from the song. Dancing in the dark till the tune ends. We're dancing in the dark and it soon ends. We're waltzing in the wonder of why we're here. Time hurries by. We're here and gone. So I start the poem with that line that I just love, all those W's, waltzing in the wonder. Back 8, in 3 parts, by the way. 1, waltzing in the wonder of why we're here. What with the ice pack, the pillow under my knees, the bathroom door like Everest beckoning, far, near, far, near. The lyric recurs consolingly. On the TV of memory, Fred is meandering across the ceiling, and I am Ginger, full of grace, twirling backwards and in heels. Though one budge, and it's like a tennis ball has been driven into a chain link fence, a lumbar bulge that focuses my mind, as the saying goes, wonderfully. Why are we here? What keeps these voluptuous W's dancing in the dark of my head? 2, these days, it no longer takes a couch, lugged upstairs, bullied through a doorway, nor sacks of dry cement, nor an overhead smash, nor Sundays sold into the servitude of weeding. These days, the teeniest twist of the neck is enough. Seeing someone one thought one knew, but didn't. A certain belief in a non-existent stare. Once, I was actually tearing off a bit of Scotch tape, I swear, when the voodoo stuck its white surprise into the small of me, and the universe collapsed to the head of an angelic pin, and the pain spilled out, and the floor became my only friend. 3, that there was once a time I was able to put on my own socks. It hurts to think. Now every movement is a punishment. Surely, I think, this must be how it is with the gods, plastered to their mattresses of hard cloud, ambulatory no more, pumped up on anti-inflammatories, so unsupple, so helpless to help us. The ceiling, now Fredless, has relinquished its fascination to the window drips, which tango down the ballroom of the pain sexily. Their twining thighs streamed beneath a mirrored globe. Look, there are 2 that bend to kiss till the tune ends, and it soon ends. So I'm going to change gears now and go from that longer form, those 3 kind of longish sonnets, to what's probably the height of terseness. These are a form called the minimal sonnet, so you get 14 lines with a sort of a recognizable rhyme scheme, but the kicker is You only get one word per line for your rhymes. And I'm actually going to start with, I consider the kind of gold standard of the minimal sonnet written back in the teens or 20s by Frank Sidgwick, called The Aeronaut to His Lady, which is, part of trivia here, a kind of a pun on a book that he wrote about Cavalier poetry, The Cavalier to His Lady. So this is the aeronaut, I guess, before they even had a word for aviator. The Aeronaut to His Lady by Frank Sidgwick. I, through blue sky, fly to you. Why? Sweet love, feet move so slow. So two of my attempts here. The first one is long division. Griefs go into grief. Someday all will die and grieving end, leaving zero sorrow. And the last one is I, which is partly about the letter I. I really like that the letter I is in English the word used to refer to the self. I. My skinny boast, my brainy ghost, no fanny, no chest, just snooty unity, perplexed. Okay, so two more poems here. People who know me know that I'm a list maker. I love to make lists. I like math. My sympathies are unapologetically toward the classical over the romantic, toward clarity over magical thinking. And I found graph paper a kind of convenient symbol for this. One bit of trivia in the first line, thunder. I know Joel once told me he loved that part of The Wasteland, what the thunder said. I was particularly thinking of The Wasteland when I mentioned thunder here. So graph paper. Once the truth was gooey thunder, a wad of spirits glommed on every tree and rock. Green wonder knelt before the omens, wrapped agog. Me? I love these acred cubby holes. The lace they leave on sea and sky, on stone, on bush. This wicker work of our Cartesian souls. These lucid rooms and numbered pairs, this skin. Keep your smug romantics who idolize the blur, the smudge, the gush, the night. Give me this plane of sanity where blue semantics rules the earth and every angle is right. I'm going to close it out here with a scene that probably familiar to most people here at the wedding. The DJ puts on an oldie, at which point a few of the parent generation venture out warily like flightless birds onto a shining wetland. Some stand almost completely still, camouflaged in the crowd, risking a few small alternating kicks forward. One moves as befits a lover of spreadsheets. Another half closes her eyes and rocks her creaking hips. Their children head for the open bar. As the rhythm picks up, the couples begin to forget themselves and to remember instead the steps they'd practiced once in front of bathroom mirrors, the righteous glides and shuffles of the swim, the pony, the boogaloo. Listening for the beat, the retired junior high school teacher snaps her fingers and hoisting first one elbow and then the other, painstakingly whips her spine forward. The divorce attorney is making a shoveling snow-like motion over his shoulder. The urologist raises the noodles of his arms toward the heavens, and as though he were Stevie Wonder incarnate, waves his sweating face back and forth as beneath a shower head. Isn't it all too laughable? These aging, idiotic bodies, jiggling, disjointed, off kilter and out of tune. Lovely and foolish and groovy. Well, thanks everybody for listening. That's my part of the show.